Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? My third PorcFest, my first with Ross being free, which, yeah. Amazing. So I was going to tell you all about the Free Ross movement and how we actually accomplished this. And, his mom is here. And so I really want you guys to hear from her. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background on what we did, how we accomplished this. And then I'm going to let her speak. And if we have some time left over, we're taking questions. I think this is probably the best use of our time. So for those that don't know, for those of you that haven't been to every single PorcFest and don't know, Ross Ulbricht was convicted for creating a free market website. And he was given a double life plus 40 years. So 240 years in a cage for the crime of building what we all believe here. And the judge who sentenced him, Judge Catherine Forrest, said that in part, she was sentencing him because she believed he hadn't left his libertarian ideals behind. To me, that was a personal affront to everything I believe in. And I know that for many of you, that is also the case. And so I met Lyn about 4 years ago. And I had known about Ross's case since it happened. I had never used the Silk Road, but I'd been on the Silk Road. I believed very strongly in what he had done. I believed in, one of the greatest things he ever did is nobody paid taxes with that website. That was, to me, pretty, yeah. You use Bitcoin to buy and sell, so you bypass the entire U.S. government system, or their financial system. It was an amazing achievement, in my view. And for that crime, his life was going to be taken from him, this young, brilliant man. So I believe strongly in Ross's case, and about 4 years ago, a dear friend of mine said, hey, do you know somebody that could, Lyn Ulbricht is moving to Miami and she needs a place to stay. And I was like, wait, the Lyn Ulbricht? Ross's mom? Like, yeah, I know where she can stay with me. And she did. And that right there was the first lesson in how we actually accomplish freedom. You need to know personal stories. You need to have a personal connection. That is how we achieve freedom. You don't care about things until they impact you personally or you see yourself in that story. I met Lyn, and I am the mother of 3 boys, 4 children altogether, but 4 boys. And I was like, if that is my son, what length wouldn't I go to for his freedom? That personal connection got me to drop everything I was doing and want to do whatever I could, anything I could, small, large, whatever, to help her. And so I think as libertarians, sometimes we forget that we are all about the personal stories. You can move people. You can move people to do the things that we need to do. So first part, meeting her. I'm sure all of you here that have met her feel the same way. How can you not help? How can you not join? The next thing is we create movements. Libertarians, we're always told that we can't accomplish anything. We've never won an election. We've never done these things. Well, we create movements. The Free Ross movement started on this very stage. Free Ross started here. This place gave Lyn the opportunity to speak and grew into a huge community, to people tweeting about Ross every Friday, to people speaking about him, to giving opportunities to Lyn to speak elsewhere, to all of our podcasters had her on and created this environment. Bitcoiners joined in. All of that started here. And all of that started with us. We create these movements. And then I know sometimes we don't really like to take our wins, but the Libertarian Party, because we spoil elections, was why Donald Trump wanted to get our support. So while we may not be winning elections, we are influencing elections. And we proved it this time around. Last time I was on the stage, I was asking you all for your vote for Donald Trump to free Ross. And so many of you did, and I want to thank you sincerely and wholeheartedly for that. Because it's because of you guys that Ross is free, that Ross is able to live his life in freedom. And I believe he's going to continue on to do amazing things. And his mom isn't done. The most amazing thing about not just Lyn, but the whole family is that they are not these type of people that are like, you know what, I got mine, see you all. We are going to continue this fight. We learned how to do this thing, right, which is free people. And it feels darn good. You know, so many people, I don't know if anybody caught Ross's speech on the Freedom Fest stage last week, but he talked about the realities of that cage. And I know we put people in these cages and we want to forget about them, but we can't forget about them. They don't deserve to spend their lives, to throw away lives in a cage, to essentially torture people. You know, that's not who we are. That's not what a free country does. And we're not going to stop there. There are so many. We have so many of our people. If you've visited Aaron Day's tent, you'll know about our people, and I call them our. There are freedom Bitcoin people, people like Ian Friedman or Roger Ver. We have so many of our own in a cage or being prosecuted right now. But beyond that, there's so many people that don't have a Lyn Ulbricht as a mother, that don't know how to do this, that don't know how to speak. And so we've created MACS, Mothers Against Cruel Sentencing. Uh-oh, my battery's running low. I better hurry it up. And so we're going to keep doing this thing, and I encourage you all to join us any way you can, whether it's spreading the word, it's donation, it's your time, it's your talent, it's your treasure, whatever it is that you can do, I urge you to join us, because there are so many people in cages that don't deserve to be there. And with that, I would love to welcome Lyn Ulbricht to the stage. Please, yes. She proved that love can move mountains.
She's small, but she's mighty. But I'm not that small. It's probably fine. So, I got my boy back. He's free, and it's a miracle. And I thank God, but I thank all the people around the world who joined us in this journey. A lot of them are in this room right now. And as Martha said, it was so much from the Free State community, the support that we got that meant so much to us. I mean, as she said, my first speech was here in this room, on this stage. What happened was that Harlan Dietrich, my friend, called me, and he said, hey, I'm going up to this festival in New Hampshire, and can you hear me okay with this? Okay, good. I'm going up to this festival in New Hampshire, and you should come. And I said, I'm printing T-shirts to sell, and I'm, handing out information. And I'm like, okay, great, I'll hand out pamphlets. That sounds fun. And he goes, no, you should speak. And I'm like, what? Speak? Me? No. And he goes, no, you should speak. Not talk. Anyway. Okay, perfect. I'm like, he goes, no, I know the organizers, I'm going to ask if you can speak. And so he did, and they said, no, sorry, our slots are full. And I'm like, oh, thank God, I don't have to do this. And then not long after, they called back, oh, whoa. We want to have you speak in the pavilion on Saturday night, our most busy slot. And I'm like, oh, my God. And I'm like, okay, God, if that's what you want me to do, I'm going to go do it. And that's kind of how I've run this whole thing is, okay, I'll do it. Sometimes it's out of my, wheelhouse at the time. And it was so great to be here. And it didn't stop with that. But what happened was when Nick Gillespie was in the audience, and he was like, hey, I want you on Reason TV. So I went on Reason TV. And then one thing led to another, and we got a bigger voice for Ross and kept him from being forgotten. But you guys were always walking with us. You were always here. I always knew I could call on you for anything, and it means so much. There are people from here that followed, and all over, that followed Trump rallies around. with Free Ross signs, sometimes in very cold weather. Some of them are in here right now. I mean, they went out there and Free Ross, and then Trump would be talking in the background and talk to the people and spread the word. Free Staters were protesting outside the trial, setting up jury nullification efforts. I think one of them is in here right now. And all these things to try to keep this going. So it really means a lot because, well, put it this way, my daughter calls me Frodo because I'm the least likely person to lead a movement, to take on the DOJ in a high-profile dark web drug case. I mean, I'm a boomer. I'm like, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about deep web stuff and encryption and Bitcoin. I knew very little. And, but I did know my son. I knew my son, and I knew he wasn't dangerous, and I couldn't let him die in there. I just couldn't let it happen. So with you guys helping me, we thwarted the most powerful prosecutors on the planet, or as Trump calls them, scum, and Ross is free. He did it. They're very tough people. Ross is free. So, I can't get into thanking all the individuals because I'll forget somebody and feel horrible, and it's so many people. But I do want to generally, as Martha said, to everyone who voted for Trump. I know some of you didn't ever vote, ever. Some of you didn't like him, but you did it anyway. You did it for Ross. And that made a difference. I truly believe it did make a difference in the election. I also want to thank Caroline, Ross's wife. If I'm Frodo, she's Sam. She was there for years, doing whatever was necessary, working very hard in all kinds of ways. And most important probably is the emotional support she gave Ross for years. She came to visit every week once she moved to Tucson. She wrote letters, phone calls, and all of that, and it gave him something to live for. It gave him a quality of life in there that he wouldn't have had. There's a lot of very, very lonely people in prison. I also want to thank Angela McArdle, who put Ross's name, yeah. She put forth Ross's name to Trump, and that made a lot of difference in Trump's choosing to pledge to free Ross. It was Angela who did that, and I'll always be grateful to her. And then Trump himself for giving Ross a second chance at life, because it was a hard pardon. It was very controversial. There were people behind the scenes very much against it. And I'm so grateful that Trump had the courage to be merciful in this case. He was great. And again, I will always be grateful to him. So the first time we visited Ross in prison was the day he was pardoned. And by the way, free Ross day one, it was in the first 24 hours. So I think it counts day one. Anyway, it's pretty good. And we visited and kind of were trying to figure out what's going to happen and how's this going to go, and because we believed he would do what he said, but we didn't know. There's no guarantees, and so and also there was a situation where that judge, Catherine Forrest, had if he got out, she said, if you ever get out, I'm going to put you on a lifetime of supervised release, which is parole for life, which means, well, it's a tripwire to get thrown back in because it's very hard not to violate parole. Happens all the time by accident. So we didn't know if that could possibly be waived. We were trying for that. Anyway, we were sitting at home just waiting, what's going to happen. And I went in the other room for a minute, and I came back, and I looked at my phone, and I had gotten a text, and I want to read you the text. Hi, Mrs. Ulbricht. This is President Trump's office. I just tried you on my desk line. President Trump would like to speak with you. Are you free? And I'm like, I had just missed a call from the President of the United States. I'm like, oh my God. And I texted back, yes, exclamation point, you know. And then a familiar voice came on saying, I've got good news for you. And I'm like, oh my God, it's Trump on the phone with me. And he said, I've given your son a full and unconditional pardon. Amazing. Very rare to get a pardon right out of prison, very rare. So of course that means no supervised release. It's, nothing. He's pardoned. So he read me the pardon on the phone. He read me the whole pardon. Of course, I'm like, oh my God, thank you so much. Just overwhelmed, really overwhelmed. And then he said, tell him to stay clean. I'm like, oh, he will. Don't worry, you won't regret this. He will. Oh my God, thank you so much. So we got in the car and we drove to the prison and picked Ross up. There he was. He was not in that building anymore that I'd left him sitting in so many visits. He's in normal clothes, carrying his plant, Leif Erikson, who's very big now, a free man. My son, a free man, after over 11 years. It was, well, like I said, it's a miracle. It really felt like a miracle. It's still sometimes hard to absorb. So what I plan next, people ask, what do you plan next? What are you going to do? Take a vacation? Yeah. Relax? Yeah, hopefully. But I do have another project. And because the problem is there's so many left behind. There's so many people that are left behind. I mean, Ross had an extreme unjust sentence, nuts sentence, but he's not unique. There are thousands and thousands of people with sentences that are not necessary. They're way out of proportion to what they did. And Ross said at Freedom Fest, he said, look, there's people in there that need to be in there. They're dangerous people, and they'll hurt other people. But he said most of the people in there don't need to be in there at all. So I've founded Mothers Against Cruel Sentencing, MAX, as Martha mentioned, and have some great people like Martha and others helping. And we want to shine a light on this sentencing and what's going on, because it contributes to the fact that we're the biggest incarcerator in the world, because these sentences just go on and on. Many, many of them are virtual life if they're not officially life. They destroy lives. And it's against the Constitution. The Eighth Amendment said no cruel or unusual punishment shall be allowed. It's prohibited, and yet these sentences pre-drug war would be absolutely crazy, unusual. No one did that. Now they're giving out life sentences casually almost. Also, there's something called the Sentencing Reform Act that says, in law, Congress voted on it, that sentences should be sufficient, but no longer than necessary. It's an abuse. It's an abuse of power. So we hope to bring attention to this, hopefully return us to reasonable and humane sentencing, or at least I'm hoping to get Trump's attention about it and say, hey, this would be something to look at. Because he kept saying with Ross, I can't get over that sentence. That sentence is terrible. Anyway, I'd love for you all to join us. You're a force. You've proven it. And I'd love your support in that. We all, let's free some more people. It feels really good to do. Anyway, thanks so much, guys. Thank you. Thank you. So if anybody has questions or anything, Ross will be here on Saturday, and he'll have his own, yeah. Mm-hmm. And also, on this same stage. And also we have cards with information about Max around, so look for that. But, you have a question? Oh, time. Okay, it's time? Oh, that's okay. Oh, Sorry. But anyway. Oh, sure.
What's Ross been doing since his release?
Enjoying nature. That was a big part of what he missed so much, because he's a real nature boy. And getting out in nature and just healing, I think, just trying to... 11 and a half years, especially in a maximum security prison, is really rough. And he talks about that he talked about that at Freedom Fest. You should listen to it. I was like, I didn't know those things. And he goes, I didn't want you to know. He didn't tell me. It's kind of shocking, really. And so he's been really healing, hasn't really been somewhat nomadic with his wife, and figuring out where to settle. Hasn't decided, so.
Hi, Lyn.
Thinking great thoughts, I'm sure.
We're preparing a little gift for Ross, and
Oh,
we're
nice. Oh,
signing
that's
the
beautiful.
back. So afterwards, if you would like to sign this for Ross, please do so.
Thanks. Thank you, guys. Thanks so much.
Do we have any more questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, come line
Okay.
up. We've got time, so
do this.
please.
Yeah. If you don't, that's fine.
I know, right? If not,
I'm good with that.
we'll have
but, yeah.
coffee too.
Yeah.
Hi, thanks for being here. At the Libertarian National Convention, when Trump announced that he was going to free Ross, he also mentioned a board that was going to send recommendations for other pardons. Do you know anything about that? Have you talked to him about that? Or has there been any headway on that? Because I feel like that kind of got forgotten.
Well, yeah, I know he appointed Alice Johnson, who I know, and I told about Max, and she loved it, pardon czar. And then he appointed Ed Martin, I believe, is now the pardon attorney, who I met on online, but I haven't talked to him specifically. But hopefully, I know Alice, who spent many years in prison, is going to be wanting to pardon people. And so hopefully they're working on that and making it easier to put the decision. What I was told was that Biden would only do what the DOJ told him. And the DOJ hates to let people out. I mean, they not only Ross, but others. But the executive is really, the executive branch, and the president is who really has that power. And so hopefully it'll go more towards the executive decisions. Hey, Joelle.
Hey, Lyn. Thanks
to
for
see
being
you.
here. Great
Thank you.
watching Ross speak in Vegas as well. Congratulations. It's got to be really amazing. I have to say, unfortunately, as you mentioned, there's a lot of people who still are, in precarious situations. I mean, all over the world, in fact. Specifically, Ian Freeman, obviously, then Roger Ver, good friend of mine as well. What should we do to help these people? Especially, so much was, the Ross victory is the big one, right? The one that's, the longest sentence, the biggest one, in my view, kind of almost the hardest one to get. But there's still so many more. What can we all go home today and do to try to make sure that all these other victims of the great crypto wars don't get forgotten?
Yeah, well, a few of us, Jim Babb, one, and I and others were distributing also pamphlets for Ian. It's a list of crypto prisoners. As it says, Trump declared the war on crypto over, so let's release the prisoners of war, kind of thing. And we're handing them out here. We have them here. And they each have a QR code next to them where you can go to their website or their fund or whatever, or petition and help that way. You can get a bunch of them in Aaron Day's tent, just straight across. There's a bunch of banners on it. Yeah, each one is unique. And I've been trying to help people behind the scenes. I've become the go-to person for getting out of jail, right? And I'm like,
Great
first
escape
you have
artist.
11 and a half years, secondly. But so I'm trying, and certainly Roger and Ian, and the others too, that I don't know personally, but still. So it's just, each one's unique, but I think a lot of if you get a movement going and you can convince people who are influential to say, hey, this is a case that needs to be looked at, this is wrong, that's what I did. And I just kept going and pushing and trying to get attention and, if they have money, hire people who have connections. I think a lot of it is about that. But and the movement, making noise.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks.
Hi there. My name's Josh from Nova Sapien. I am really, my heart goes out to you guys. I'm so grateful for all of this, and so thank you for, I guess, fighting so hard for Ross and following it through the years. A lot of Bitcoiners believe that Bitcoin restores a free market to the world, and in this, I would love to see the prisoners, the money that we spend on prisons, to go towards us, like the subsidized salaries and local mechanics or local things that the society needs. I think they do this in some places around the world. Have you thought about other models of like the money we use on prisons to go to, maybe not pardoning people, but modifying the types of prisons that we use in the United States? Have you thought about those kinds of things?
Yeah. And Ross and I have talked about these things too. And we really just launched this. This is very new, but I wanted to take advantage of the different conferences to get some attention. So after this, I am set up to speak to people in the criminal justice reform world, who I know, a lot of them, and just say, hey, what's the best way to actually get somebody to walk out of that cage? And as far as that, in the prisons, life in the prisons and making it better and making it, they're just in there too long. I mean, it's hard to make it better. I mean, there definitely could be worse or better. Yeah. But it's just torture in itself, just being confined in a cage, away from your family for years and decades, and sometimes lifetimes. People die in there. It's just not necessary to keep society safe, To
link the free market aspect of that, I think it doesn't make sense to have all of our money going into prisons, and I think that happens when you have regulatory capture. And so I hope that Bitcoin can serve as a foundation for the United States to grow out of debt, to increase productivity, and I see the prisoners as like a really destructive part of the money that we spend, one of the many ways. So thank you for fighting for that, and thank you.
Yeah. Well, and it's the biggest, the prisons are the most expensive item on the DOJ's expense sheet. And
Is that right? Is that right?
That's what I was told.
Wow.
And that, it would have cost a few $1 million to keep Ross in there for his whole life. It's expensive. I suspect people are making money off of that. And so what does that make them? Human traffickers? I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story.
Sure.
I have, thankfully, little experience with the judicial system, but sentences either come from a judge or from a jury.
Could you say that again?
The sentence is given by either the judge or the jury, depending on the circumstances of the state.
The sentence is given by the judge. That judge gave him that sentence.
Well, overall, that sometimes it's a jury that gives
the jury rules on it whether they're guilty or not, but the sentencing is done by the judge later in a sentencing hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
It would have to be a pretty stupid judge to not understand that 2 life sentences is cruel and inhuman.
She's a
how did he get through
pretty big monster, in my opinion.
How did he get through law school? I wonder. But anyway.
I think in case you get out, in case you get free of those other charges, whatever, well, we got another life sentence for you, plus 40 years. Don't forget that 40 years is very important.
That's incredible.
It is. It's an abuse of power.
The problem is corrupt judges, and that the prisons are focused on incarceration, not rehabilitation.
True. They call it a correctional institute, and I'm like, really?
But in the
learn
case
how to
like
be
this,
learn how to be a criminal. That's what it is.
they pretty much manufactured a crime and sentence them 2 life sentences plus 40 years. Dear God.
Yeah.
Well,
I do believe it was his philosophy. She says, Martha referenced, they wouldn't let our lawyers mention his libertarian philosophy to the jury. And then at the sentencing, she said, you have a dangerous philosophy. We're talking about libertarian here, when you get down to it.
Freedom is a dangerous philosophy.
Yeah, and we don't know if that's a philosophy you've left behind, so you get to die in prison for that.
How do we
How is that not a First Amendment point? I don't know.
How do we combat this?
Huh?
How do we combat this? How do we get these judges out of office? Is there any other way?
I guess they can be impeached. She quit, luckily.
I mean,
It's
we've
really
seen
good. She quit. She's no longer a judge, thank God. She's making money as a lawyer. Yeah. But he was her 5th life sentence of that year, and it was only May. She had more to go. She was like the hanging judge.
Yeah, looking to set a world
And
record
I
or
believe they
something.
picked her for him, too. Go ahead.
She's looking to set a world record.
Yeah, the most life sentences.
Nonviolent crime, and it wasn't a crime. Anyway,
They don't need that.
thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, sure. No, I'd love to figure out a way. It's a problem.
Just out of curiosity, do you know what kind and how much of an effect specifically the Change.org petition had?
Well, the pardon attorney, it went over 600,000. It was something I could say to legislators, like, oh, really? Wow. Was their response, which made it safer and easier for them to sign a letter to the president, which actually, I don't know if it ever got sent to Trump, because it was all during Biden. The pardon attorney said that they pay attention to these things. Whether it would have taken them into freedom, I don't know. But we just tried everything. We just thought, well, maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. We'll see. I think it was a useful tool, certainly with getting support and talking to people and, getting them to sign.
Point.
Yeah, it was good.
Thank you.
Okay, sure.
Hi. You mentioned earlier this act of Congress about sufficient but no more than necessary sentences. And I presume when you said that, you were saying it as a good thing.
Saying what?
You were saying it as a good thing? I wasn't quite sure.
Well, it certainly is better than what they're doing now.
Well, what I'm wondering
It's put
is,
restrictions on the sentencing to say it needs to be necessary.
what I'm
you know.
wondering is judges like the one that sentenced Ross, they're just going to use those words and keep doing what they're doing.
Could you step back from Mike maybe a little?
sorry.
Sorry, I can't understand you. Go ahead.
So it seems to me
Yeah, it's better.
Those words are sufficiently vague and necessarily vague that bad judges are just going to say, well, 2 life sentences was obviously necessary.
Yeah.
So I don't see how it's going to change
It just gives
anything.
us, well, hey,
I don't mean to
I got to
sound
quote
like a
something,
downer,
right?
but-
And
yeah.
the Congress voted on that. I think anyone would say, it was that sentence. That sentence actually helped get Ross out. I believe it did. If she had just given him just 20 years, which would be a long time, I don't think it would have been quite as shocking to Trump. I don't think it would have been quite as shocking to a lot of people.
Good point.
It was, and so I just, the fact is they're defying Congress, whether, it's a subjective thing. Is it necessary? Well, for a nonviolent first-time offender with no victim named at trial, it's hard to believe that a double life sentence plus 40 years would be necessary. No history of violence whatsoever.
In fact, no more than life sentence would ever be necessary for anybody.
Well, that's true. Good point.
Hi,
Hi.
thank you for being here.
Sure.
I'm
Happy to be here.
I'm curious as a mom. Again, thank you for everything you did and for giving inspiration to others in similar situations. You could have just gone off into the wind. I have my son back, and so thank you very
Yeah.
much. Thank you very much for
Yeah.
doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. You know what? I wanted to mention something that happened in the prison, and I think I forgot, which is that last day we went to visit Ross, I mentioned. When we were leaving, because people in the prison knew what had happened, and he was probably going to get some kind of clemency. As we knew these people, we'd gotten to know them over time, years. When we were leaving, they were all like, the prisoners and the visitors, bye, we're so happy for you, good luck, we'll be, thinking of you, all this stuff. So heartbreaking, because we turned around, the doors clanked behind us, and we're out in Arizona, and they're still there. And they're the ones that really haunt me. And it's just so sad, because a lot of them have really long sentences. So, yeah, it was kind of like I couldn't forget it. And I thought of it a couple of years ago, and I just was too busy with Ross. But I thought, nah, I got to do it. I can't waste all of this effort and connections and notoriety and not help somebody else too.
Thank you, because I'm one of those people. I was a political prisoner for
Wow.
for a while, And I would like to ask you, what would you suggest people that don't have the means, they don't have the publicity, they don't have
Yeah, yeah. know.
some words of inspiration? How do you even go on? It's an unbeatable system, seems like.
Yeah, no, I mean, people are forgotten in there. They're warehouse. They're just forgotten. And it's wrong. It's un-American. It's against our Eighth Amendment, so I don't know. What we plan to do is have different people call in, like mothers of people who are incarcerated or others. It doesn't have to just be mothers, but just tell their story in a minute and post those stories, because I feel like the stories are what are going to change minds about this situation. He did this, and this is what this is a sentence. And anybody who hears, it's just, some of these sentences I've been told are just, that I've talked to the people, that, so that, that's the part I'm focused on, because, hey, I'm the poster child. Ross is the poster child, and I'm, I can talk about that.
Yeah.
But it's not, of course, a sentence could be 10 years and be too long, I don't know, that we're kind of, if you have good ideas, let me know. Get in touch. I mean,
The
we're just
bottom,
going to
the
go.
bottom line is I would like to thank you, because it does give people hope, like especially.
Yeah, if it can happen with Ross, yes.
Yes.
And also the point is, it's not just, I didn't know, like I said, I didn't know what I was doing. I just, okay, I'll come here. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, well, that worked. Let's, it's just one day at a time, and just figure it out. And of course, I'm happy to help anybody who is trying to do that with what I can do.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, we'll
Thank
just
you.
keep
It's very,
fighting.
very
We'll just keep
inspiring.
working to free people.
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Lynn, don't forget to give the website.
What?
Let everybody know the website.
Website, yes. Well, it's kind of a mouthful, but it's mothersagainstcruelsentencing.org. And we actually have a website, and a place to donate if you want, a place to contact us, for any reason. And we're going to be, again, handing out cards and with information now. Oh, yeah, well, stories too. Like, yeah, I mean, anything you want to communicate. We're starting, yeah, there it is. We're starting, this is very new. It's an idea. It's an idea. And we're going to make it concrete one way or the other. We're going to do that. So, thanks, guys.